Welcome to the I Didn't Know What the Fuck I Was Doing podcast.
We're your hosts, Teresa
and David.
This is the podcast with two ADHD entrepreneurs who jumped into uncertain territory
and made lots of unpleasant mistakes along the way.
We were able to figure out what we're actually passionate about.
And we are here to help you do the same.
Each week, we will release 2 episodes discussing how we navigate our businesses, relationships, and health,
as well as interview excellent guests who share their own personal IDK WTF stories.
Listen today so you can hear some relatable content
as we normalize uncertainty in business and in life.
Because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing. Welcome back, everyone. We are here with another episode, part 2, with our interview with the wonderful Avital Miller. And the first part, we kind of covered her journey, her story. We learned a little bit just about kind of the struggle she had and what she overcame in writing a book and how it kind of led to a whole bunch of new things and experiences in her life. And what else do we learn, Teresa?
Well, we also learned that I'm Teresa Merrick and you're David.
Oh, yeah.
Since this is the beginning of a new episode and it's part 2. So just in case our listeners didn't know when they started, go back and check out part 1 as well, because we've already learned so much good information, how to tame teenagers and all the like. So yes. All right. First episode, you shared with us one of the 4 steps of your full-bodied success mastery. And we want to know, what are the other 3 steps? Please share.
Yeah. And I want to, what I didn't make you do earlier is there's dance moves to each of these. Yes. So you don't just have to sit there and listen.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the dance move to the first one so we don't miss it?
Yeah, no, we had to do the whole dance together. Otherwise you can't audition for my dance company. So
got it. Got to be ready for the audition.
Did you actually start a dance company? Or?
Oh, well, I mean, okay. So yes, I said that as a joke, but side note, we did have to put this in. Perform at the Valentine's soiree, and I would like to have an even bigger group perform at the next Valentine's soiree, which is kind of like this MTV style hip hop sexy dance. And then we are going to have a group do a very simple movement piece with these angel wings at my next charity event, which we can talk about in a little bit.
Well, David and I will learn the dance, and then we'll do a TikTok about it.
Oh my God.
We so should. That would be so much fun. Yeah. Look for our TikTok friends.
Okay, so hands on your heart. And this is focused on your reason to live. So you're going to I love how David's like right on his heart instead of in the center. So you're fine either way. So you're going to reach your arms forward and open and say reason to live. So you have to speak it too. Reason to live, because the options are vast, wide open potential. And what I will say to this is that we're just touching on a couple of the points of each of these, but I have actually created exercises to help you manifest them. So often like we get caught up in not realizing what our purpose can be or not believing that we're capable of it. So I've created breakthrough exercises in the online course called Full Body Success Mastery. And then here's the key is, do you ever feel like, all right, like I know what I want and I'm starting to go for it and I'm excited. So I'm starting to tell people. And then that's when you get like me with writing, like, no, you can't write. Like, oh no, you only have 3 months to live, right? That's a lot of the stories for my book. But you have people like Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, and Michael Jordan, and Einstein, like at Lady Gaga, all these people were told that they didn't have what it takes in their field. Thank goodness they didn't listen. So here's the key, and you have to do this with attitude. I want you to put one hand on your hip, and if you're standing, you can even cock your hip to the side.
Okay.
You can do it in your chair too. One arm forward.
One arm forward.
Yes, and obviously the other arm. Finger pointing up, and don't listen to everything. You can shake your head with that. Don't listen.
It's like the Beyonce move.
Yes.
Like almost like her attitude. Like that's what I'm thinking of is like the Beyonce attitude, except with my finger like, no.
No. I do this with all my talks. By the way, there's like 3 or 4 points and there's like a move for each one. So this is the full body success, the FBSM top dance. Right. Okay. So we're not listening to everything. And I could just touch on, it's actually, I think it's the last story in my book, Maureen Bell's, but she was given just a few weeks to live. She was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a type of cancer. She's on her deathbed. Her son comes to visit thinking he needs to say goodbye to his mom. But he has this moment where he's like, I remember the strong single mom who raised me, who knows about energy healing. So he says to her, why didn't you fight? Why didn't you fight? And she's like, do I have a choice? Do I have a choice? And she just heard it ringing in her head. Choice. And she all of a sudden started feeling better and getting better. And, I can go through all the details of what was going on. I mean, she was in hospice, 80 pounds, like not getting up, not eating, just pain all over her body. So after that moment, she wasn't feeling pain. She was hungry. It was huge. She had one more round of chemo scheduled. And she thought, well, I don't need that. And then she's like, okay, no, let's just do it. But let's look into what's actually in the drugs, because she hadn't done it to this level. And she realized that the first drug she looked up was made from her favorite plant called vincastrine, the vinca plant. That's periwinkle. And she planted it everywhere in her adult life. So now she's like putting this thing in her body, which causes, good things to happen, but also negative side effects. And it's her favorite plant. She loves it. So normally it would take 9 or 10 hours for everything to get into her body. And then this time it only took 3. And normally her urine would turn blood red. And this time it stayed its normal color. There were a lot of things going on. I mean, the nurses were like, she's gaining weight. Her hair's growing back in. Hey, doctor, like, are we giving her a placebo? I'm like, no way.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, basically, take anything, keep investigating, keep tuning into your intuition. What's true for me? What's true for my body? We don't know everything yet. So there's more to discover. Leave room for that. And then maybe it just seems like this big thing that is kind of hard to approach. So what do? You do what you can do. This is number 3. You're going to circle your hands in front of your heart, which is an energy healing technique. Okay. And you can just nod your head yes now.
Clockwise. Does it matter?
They do forward? Different things. So just do whatever you feel like doing.
Have a full-on dance party.
I know.
For all the people who are just listening, seriously, you have to go watch the video of us. So Spotify has video now. We're on YouTube. Like seriously, because you're gonna have to see the moves. You could do TikToks with us too. Just let us know. We'll do TikToks with you.
Yeah. Speaking of the moves, can we just review real quickly to make sure we've got them?
Yeah.
So, number 1, hands on your heart, open your arms forward, reason to live.
Like I'm gonna hit stuff in front of me and back up a little.
Yeah, I know. You got to work around the mics there. All right, a little bit of attitude. Don't listen to everything. And then do what you can do. So here's a story from my book that I like that represents that. This is Dr. Brooke Goldner. She had lupus. So serious that she was on chemo in high school.
Oh, wow.
And then she goes through her medical school and she thinks that she's just going to live a short life. That's it. She's like, well, I'll at least make the most of it and help other people experience less pain by becoming a doctor. And then she falls in love. Things move so fast that after 1 month, Thomas Tadlock is his name. He asks her to marry him.
I love that.
And she tells him, because she's like, we just talked about movies and books, we didn't tell him about lupus. And she's like, I'm probably not going to live long. I can't have kids. My body's going to deteriorate. You're going to have to take care of me. And he's like, a short life with you is better than none at all.
Oh,
I know.
That's like just the sweetest thing. I'm such a sucker for a love story. I really am.
This is about 15 years ago, time-wise. She's like, okay, like I don't just wear a white coat, I get to wear a white dress. And then she's like, okay, but if I'm getting married, I want to look good. And he's like, okay, well, you've come to the right person. Because he used to train MTV stars to lose their partying pooch quickly before the next music video gets recorded.
Oh, so he knew how to help her train to feel her best.
Yeah, but there was one difference. She said, but I'm not eating meat. And I think she wasn't vegan before that, nor knew properly how to be vegan anyways. So she became vegan, went on this diet, and looked great for the wedding. Before the wedding, she did a routine lupus test. No lupus.
Wow.
Been that way for 15 years.
Wow.
She's had 2 kids, normal pregnancies, quick recovery. What did she do? Vanity. She wanted to look good for her wedding.
Right.
But she also had a reason to live.
She did. I think she, in her mind, right, it's like she's expecting, like, I'll just enjoy this as long as I get. And sometimes, like, your reason to live just extends your life, right? It doesn't necessarily, make it forever. But in her case, the disease is gone. And she's a doctor. So now she combines her medical science with nutrition training that she did and helps other people. That's one of the things that's really special about all of this, is that all of these practitioners and myself, we received the gift of lessons that we've learned, of new skills that we've gained, but then we keep giving the gift back. And that's why I like to add on that the number 4 full body success mastery, you're going to be reaching your arms up to the heavens.
Okay.
And then you're going to be singing, what is the gift? What is the gift? What is
Love it. You gonna sing, David?
Can we review all 4 of them again real quick?
Yes. Hands on your heart.
Sure.
Reason to live. Open your
Reason
arms.
to live.
Let me see some attitude. Don't listen to everything.
Don't listen to everything.
Circle your hands in front of your heart. Do what you can do.
Do what you can do.
And let's sing it. What is the gift?
The gift.
Like, I get this visual. Okay, you're going to go to the emergency room. And you're not going to deny, like, the pain that your body is in. But typically it's like, okay, like, I'm in pain. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know how long it's going to be till I'm seeing a doctor. And I'm watching everyone else around me going through this experience. And I'm just feeling worse and worse and worse while I'm sitting there. So what if we sat there and we're like, well, hey, yeah, there's going to be a lot of shitty moments with this. Excuse my language, but
it's all right.
You could, like,
we have language in the title of our podcast.
Bleep that out. That was I swear once a year, so you guys just got it.
Special. We got the one swear a year.
So actually, a funny story real quick, just to interject. When we first launched the podcast, I reached out to Avital to see. I was like, hey, would you like to help promote the podcast? She's like, oh, David, you're so awesome. I'd love to help you promote it. And I was like, here's the title. And she was like, I don't promote things with curse words in it. And I was like, that's totally fair. And so it's just totally off brand for you. And that's yeah, totally cool.
I know.
Well, for the longest time, I only would say F. Unfortunately, my children have heard me swear a lot more than just F. But
I actually don't curse a lot at all.
What the
I just
F?
feel like that's why I like the IDK.
That's so funny.
So if you're sitting in the emergency room and you're just singing, what is the gift? Now they might send you to the mental ward instead. However, you're going to feel a lot better.
That's so awesome. Like that's, I mean, my mom lives by the motto, every day is a gift. So that's been like drilled into my head since I was little. My younger brother has Down syndrome. So he had heart surgery when he was 5 months old, like open heart surgery. So like there's been a lot that my family has like grown and in love and in there's so many gifts that have come from this initial kind of shock of like, your baby has Down syndrome. Oh, also he has a hole in his heart. And I was 7.5 when my brother was born. So it's like every day is a gift. So when you're like, what is the gift? Like it resonates so much. And when you look for the gifts, when you look for, okay, what can I gain from this? It really is such a huge mentality shift.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at like, how do we make everything better? How do we make the challenges that come up better? Right. So you don't get enough people who sign up for your event so the Valentine's story, right?
Hold on one second. I want to go into this in depth and I want to take a really quick break. And then we'll come back and we will do all things Valentine's soiree because I want to know all about it.
And real quick, just to backtrack before we hit our break, you teach a full course on those 4 steps, right? There's an online course for it. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll link to that because I know we had to go over it super quick and there's a lot more to each one. So maybe we can link to that course for you in our show notes.
Oh, just go to healinghappensforyou.com and then click on the courses tab.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll put that right in the show notes for you.
Yes, we will definitely, because I'm totally going to check it out. I love it. That's
Thank
so
you.
great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, well, then we will be right back. Thanks for listening, guys. This is a podcast for anyone looking to improve their personal, professional, or family life.
We craft these episodes so you can learn from or relate to our experiences and opinions.
And we'd love to hear more about you. So if you're interested in connecting with us further,
as well as other like-minded individuals,
we recommend checking out our creatively named Facebook group, Colorado Entrepreneurs.
You don't have to be from Colorado or be an entrepreneur to join, but it doesn't hurt.
Just go to facebook.com/groups/Colorado Biz, that's BIZ, and send us a join request.
Or check the link in the description and show notes below.
Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. I'm so excited. All right. Avital, I really want to hear all about your Valentine's soiree. Please tell us about it.
Yeah, well, this was one of the creations that came out of building community from community. And it started with 3 personal trainers working together for a holiday workout. And then it became this huge 250-person charity event with a fashion show where sponsors got outfits designed and got to walk the runway, with a date auction, with I told you about the MTV style like group piece that we did, and there was a burlesque performer and the circus founder who trained with Cirque du Soleil and Montreal. And it's kind of like that. If I keep talking about it, you're just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I had gone to Tony Robbins in November, and then I went to Disney World right after that. Tony Robbins is in Florida. And it was like, okay, you got to make things outstanding and keep the energy high and keep it exciting. And that's why I say like these charity events, there's 5 pillars to them. So one of them is really also about uplifting people through the creativity and expansion of it. But I had been part of big events that other people were running, of that size, or like helped a little bit in some ways, but I hadn't personally run an event that size. And normally like you jump up in size a little bit from event to event. And the first year I did a Valentine event, we had 80 people with a waiting list, and that was what the venue could host. And then the second time we did it during the pandemic, so we could host 40 people, so we could be socially distanced. So we sold that out. And then I
just want to say that's really great that you were able to do it during the pandemic still, because if it's a charity fundraiser, I mean, it's so important. So I definitely also want to know, what is the charity for?
Yeah. So it evolved as we went. So we actually had three charities in the beginning.
Okay. Awesome.
And so the last one was for No Kid Hungry. So I think the idea of child hunger.
That's a hot button for me. I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. The difference is I don't know for sure if we'll do them again next year or not. It depends on how much they work with me, because I'm working with 2 local charities who help end trafficking or help survivors recover for the next event in September. And I am loving working with, charities who are local.
That's wonderful. That's so exciting. Yeah. Okay. So you had 40 people in COVID year.
Yeah. And then I'm like, we're just going to give like a quick, a kick or a push and make it way bigger. So let's go for 200 people for next year's Valentine's event. So we're going from 40 to 200. And I will be honest with you, is that I didn't market to the community who came the first year, nor the community who came the second year.
Oh, you started over?
I started over because things change in the world and in our lives and who we are. And they weren't the right target markets. Of course, they were all invited. And so I focused on established entrepreneurs. I really just wanted a lot of people who are really into, sharing their business, to share it with each other and help support each other. But I find entrepreneurs are just so energetic and open.
How did it develop? So you started with, 40 people, and then so you got circus performers, and you got fashion designers, and you got hairstylists and like cosmetologists. So how did this whole thing progress? Because it sounds like it might have started, okay, maybe I'll do a fashion show, and then it turned into something elaborate. How did
Yeah,
that
I mean, remember the first thing was a fitness workout, and then a potluck, and then a friend of mine said to me, "Hey, why don't you do acro yoga for Valentine's Day instead of a fitness class?" I'm like, "Oh, that's good." And she's also a dancer, and I'm a dancer, so we're like, "Why don't we do partner yoga and movement connection exercises?" And then that actually started my whole How to Love and Be Loved series of relationship programs, and some of them are done through the physical, motion also. But so we're like, okay, let's do that, and then let's throw a dance party afterwards. And then this lady who I know who had a speakeasy was like, why don't you do it here? And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's this room that you have to go through in order to get there. I'm like, why don't we make that an escape room? And then as I'm talking to people, I have a friend who's a magician, and I'm like, we need a bartender. I was like, you want to do magic at the bar and be the bartender? And then another friend leads like meditation, and another one's a massage therapist. So we already, the event two years ago already started to have quite a few pieces, in it. And then the 40-person event was completely different because we're not going to be getting close. Right.
But 10 feet away.
But people can come with their household and sit at a table for a meal in a restaurant. So what if we're sitting at a table and playing games? And what if we make it like a black tie, like game parlor? And then somebody's like, hey, what if we do a date auction to raise money for charity? So we've got those elements, and it was fantastic. I mean, both of these events were my highlight of the year. So a friend of mine who'd been both of the first 2 years asks me at the end of the second one, how are you going to top this? And this just came out of my mouth. Well, I'm going to combine them next year. So here I am. And great. Remember, I said, I'm not working with the people I worked with before. And at first I'm like, how am I going to do it without them? And then I'm like, no. I just have to figure out how to do it bigger and better. Like that's how life goes. Like you don't get set back. You just get launched forward. So I'm like, all right, who's going to make this bigger and better? And all of a sudden last year, I fell into the fashion industry. It's a whole other story. But all of a sudden I'm like emceeing fashion shows. And I don't know, I've been to these like photo shoots and walking and dancing on the runway. And but when I'm emceeing, I'm an organized person and I've hosted a bunch of things, right? I'm a leader. And all of a sudden I'm like helping like the flow of all these things that are happening. So I'm just learning a lot about how you're putting on a fashion show in the process of that. Oh yeah. The guy who runs the fashion show, he has a fashion magazine. He put me on the cover. This magazine.
Oh, wow. So it's like you just kind of kept creating more community as you went. And because I love it, you talked about community a couple different times. And I think it seems like just you're that's what you do. You build community around you. And so then you just call them into action.
Sometimes I call people into action, but really what I do is as I'm interacting with people, I like say, hey, this thing's going on. And if they lean in, I'm like, okay, I'll tell you more. As long as they keep leaning in, I'll tell them more. And if they're like, then
I love that though. I mean, that really does. It shows when people are very interested and they want to know more, and they, so the right people are showing up, the right people are listening, and you're asking the right people to join you.
Yeah. But this is just, so I really, what I do is I have conversations with people. And I say this when I go to networking events, I'm like, just plan a one-to-one with me. Like we'll have a conversation. You tell me like what your goals are, what you need to be working on. And like, literally we'll create the coolest things together because of that. So it's just sitting and listening and then brainstorming together. And part of why I like telling everyone is because everyone has new ideas that just feeds in more and more. Cause there's all these little like, subtle things, like as small as what we might put in our silent auction for the WOW Jubilee to help end trafficking is auction items where when somebody buys the auction item, let's say there's a massage in it, the massage therapist who's donating it is going to donate 2 massages, one to the person who buys the auction and one to a survivor. So there's like a buy one, get one, kind of thing. And so a lot of these special gifts sometimes can be more subtle, sometimes can be this huge partnership. All right, the gal who makes the angel wings who we had in the Valentine's story, I'm also looking at like who's great to work with. And so she was great to work with. And she's just somebody who I'm like, I want to keep doing stuff with her. So there's been talk and like taking the show on the road to kind of create things like this where you're developing community around a charity event in other cities. But I'm like, can we take her wings on the road? Like,
yeah.
Well, I know we're running a little low on time, so I want to make sure I want to respect your time here. But I'm curious, a 250-person event isn't, especially when you haven't run one before, isn't the easiest. So what were some of the hardest things and the biggest lessons that you learned?
Yeah, there's a lot of little things like, what is it? We used a consignment company to give us donations into the silent auction, but you have to start the bidding too high if you want to be sure you're going to cover your costs so it doesn't get people into bidding wars, and then you have to pay shipping for the products. And so like, we didn't make any money off of doing that. Right. So those are small things. But I think I said yes before, like not even knowing if I'm really going to have time. So I'm working day and night. The last 2 weeks, I just didn't sleep. I mean, I stopped having a social life, like nothing else besides the Valentine's Day, like one track mind. And I really did a great job prepping so much beforehand. And sometimes, like, when you talk to people, they present like, yeah, I'm capable of this. But and also because so much is moving so fast. And if they're volunteering or giving you this great discount, like, you just go with it. And so I didn't ask enough questions to some of the people being involved to say, well, how big was the event that you've done before? Like, how frequently have you done events like that? And so we really had like one person who touched on a lot of areas at the actual event where just a lot of things didn't happen because of that one person. And granted, I prepared everything properly in advance and trained her and heard her say it back, but I could have done a lot more training and practice with her beforehand and find out, because a lot of it was actually dealing with stress in the moment and her mind went blank. So I was worried that people would be asking me questions because I knew too much and I didn't offload enough information. That wasn't the case. That was just because she couldn't figure out how to problem solve in the moment. And so when it comes to the event, I'm actually supposed to be because that's the most important thing, is that I've been developing all these relationships. There's other people who can take care of all the back end. And here I am in this like beautiful gown, and I'm like sitting in the middle of the ballroom, like fixing this computer, and then I had, one of the people that was a little bit of like the person who touched all these parts would come up to, like freaking out, like this thing is happening. I would just look around the room and I'd be like, everyone looks like they're having a good time. One, this isn't something we need to freak out about. At least me. If she wants to, that's fine. But I don't need to freak out. But two, this doesn't, in the big picture, create that much impact because everyone's having a good time. A lot of the things that fell through the cracks didn't impede the overall experience. And what it leaves is room for next year for me to do it better, and then to be like, oh my God, there's all these other things.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest takeaway lessons that you're going to kind of implement for next year?
Yeah. So it's asking more questions beforehand. We've already scheduled for like the charity event in September, a day to practice with all of the day of volunteers, how it goes, because that person also needed to delegate. Right. And so there's all these other people who might have been good on their own, but they weren't told what to do. So if they're practicing beforehand, then they also need less instruction on the day of. And so I think it's just asking more questions and doing more practice beforehand.
Do you implement like contracts for each person? Do you have like contracts and like contractual agreements?
Well, what I'm doing right now, it's certain people will give me a contract, and and so I'll work on that with them. But I'm creating forms to fill out. Okay. You probably filled out some forms, David, last time, and it's people thought I was like forms queen, Excel queen, and now I'm just doing that even more. So every single person who's involved in the event has a form to fill out. So it's a little more upfront work. But then it's also just putting in there like a little statement, like, here's what we're giving you, here's what we expect from you. Just a small thing. And I can make it more and more formal as we go. There were a lot of people, I'd never experienced this. I mean, with a charity event, you think people would be more generous. And actually, I'd never seen so many people want free tickets.
That's a thing, yeah.
And I didn't know how much it costs to put on an event like that. So I was like, yeah, of course I'd love to, but no, like this is gonna like, it would just make me like so claustrophobic.
Well, it's also a charity event. Like, pay for your tickets, please.
I know, like what is this for? Yeah. So it's even just the people who are involved. I added a section in the sponsorship form called in-kind sponsorship, because there were complaints afterwards that I like didn't, give them what they thought they should have gotten, but there was zero discussion from them as to what that expectation was beforehand. And it was only one or two people, that kind of bothered me after the fact. And it's like, well, I would have loved to give you that. It's a little late now. So that just answers the question. Like, here's what we're giving you.
Well, we're almost out of time. And again, we do want to respect your time, and it has been such a pleasure to have you. But we want you, like, what do you want to share with us about, you have talked about something going on in September. So if you want to, whatever you want to share for our listeners right now, we want to promote what you're doing.
Yay. Thank you. The September event is called Wow Jubilee. And I want you to imagine the beautiful Denver Botanic Gardens, walking through the gardens, and then you get greeted by all of these different performers like stilt walker and juggler and hula hooper. And then you get to find out about all these organizations that are involved with helping in some process of the anti-trafficking or recovery efforts. And then you can sit down for a beautiful dinner, and then you see these high-end dance performances sharing these stories from trauma to potential, including myself performing. So that gives you a picture of this event, wowjubilee.com. We are not planning to live stream this event. We will live stream Valentine's Soiree. That's valentinesoiree.com. So you can sort of plan for that in advance in February, wherever you are. A lot of people do fly in, and we do get hotel deals, but you can donate and you can bid in the silent auction for any of these events. So that's already posted at wowjubilee.com. And then we mentioned me giving a gift and being the Energizer Bunny.
Oh yeah, your gift. You did mention that. I'm so excited. What is the gift you're giving me?
I know. What is the gift?
Maybe not me, but what is the gift?
It just reminds me when I go visit my brother's kids, he has 7 of them. And they're like, what'd you bring me? Did you bring me a gift? Did you bring me a gift? Because I actually stopped bringing gifts every time I come, because I'm like, I don't want them to, have
associate you with only giving them gifts. You are the gift. And the gift.
Yes, that's my love language, quality time. Like, me giving you time is my gift. And actually, I will give you my time as part of this gift. I mentioned being an Energizer Bunny. Then I mentioned having fatigue. And then I got back to being an Energizer Bunny and hiking up 14ers and traveling around the world, giving speaking engagements and dancing. But I had to explore in the process, well, what made me originally energetic? What takes me back to that? Mm-hmm. And there's things that we can do to just instantaneously raise our energy, but also understand what is going on inside of ourselves so that we can make that a continual thing of having high energy when we want it. So there's a webinar that I lead live with you so that you can ask questions and we can interact and I can personalize it. So it's called Energize Your Life, 3 Keys to Unlock Unlimited Energy. And you simply go to unlockunlimitedenergy.com to sign up for the next date.
Excellent. All right. Well, you have given us lots of web addresses and everything throughout this. We will post all of those in the show notes. So everybody can just go and click and check it out and check out your free gift, because it has been such a pleasure. Everyone, you should go spend this time with Avital. She's amazing.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I very much appreciate you saying yes, as you do, and going to hang out with us for a little bit and sharing your IDK WTF stories.
I even swear for you.
We got the swear word of the year.
You got it.
Thank you guys so much for having me as a guest too. I mean, I know that David does great work, and so I'm only going to assume that you do too, Teresa. And everyone listening to these podcast episodes is probably really, really lucky.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we're so excited to be here with you. So what a great compliment.
Awesome. And thanks to all our listeners for checking out another episode. So I'll go to the show notes, click on all the links, see the stuff, follow Avital Miller. She's everywhere on social media as well. And I am excited to talk to you guys again.
Yes. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. This has been the conclusion of our 2-part series.
And hey, congrats for making it here.
If you didn't happen to catch part 1, just go back to the previous episode to get the full story.
It was a really good one.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider liking, subscribing, and or reviewing us on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Also, if there's someone you know who clearly doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and would benefit from this topic, please hit that share button and send them this episode.
Let's normalize the feeling of uncertainty.
Asking for help and admitting that we don't know
what the fuck we're doing either.